Just, I guess, wrapping up just quickly from last week, from an injury standpoint, we're really fortunate. We should be in great shape going into this week, which is good for us. A little bit about our next opponent. I think a great challenge for us, to be honest with you. Probably the most, in terms of skill, the most talented team we played from a skill standpoint this year. You're talking about a team that's got a senior quarterback who's had an outstanding career, has played really good in his first 2 football games, tremendous tailback, an entire offensive line that's coming back. You can see why they played so well 2 weeks ago. And then defensively, almost their entire front 7 coming back on the defensive side of the football. So a team that can really run, defensively creates a lot of havoc, and then offensively, as skilled as anybody we played. So, great challenge for us. And with that said, certainly any questions you have for me, I'll answer them.
When you reviewed the tape from Saturday, the detail and discipline stuff that you talked about immediately after the game, what was your thoughts on why or how those occurred, and that they were, I guess, situational or maybe systemic to continued issues?
Yeah, I think the positive is I don't think they were, it was certainly nothing that happened in the UNI game that carried over. I think for some of it was just situational, and again, that's where when I watch our kids play as hard as they did and I saw the growth that we made, those are things where you got to go back and say where and what can we continue to make sure those things don't happen again. And I think the discipline standpoint is probably not the right word, but the detail and precision piece that it takes to play elite football, and we've shown to be able to do that. The consistency of being able to do that is what's critical for us to win. And then to win, period, any football game, but certainly win a game, in that situation. So I think those were the things that we took from it, and obviously, again, structurally, how do you as the head coach continue to provide ways to be better teachers and to do a great job of putting your kids in a better situation to be successful. And so I think all things will carry with us and continue to move forward.
How concerned are you about some of the mistakes that have happened through the first 2 games on special teams? And
yeah, I from a special team standpoint, I don't know mistake-wise what happened in the first game. What would have happened in the first game?
Just one of the kickoffs that went out of bounds.
I think the biggest thing for me was not so much the miscues on special teams as much as you had a new guy back in the kick return aspect of things due to injury, and I think it was a situation that was a tough call. We should have done a better job as the coaches, probably not putting Johnny in that situation. And then, on the punt return standpoint, or the punt situation that happened in the game, Joe's done a great job punting the football. We've done a great job covering, put ourselves in a backed up situation. And again, I think it's more the situational thing that happened. But I really think overall we have taken a huge step forward, special teams wise. But and then obviously the last play that happens in the game, it's a situational deal, and it's tough because Speedy does a great job. He's on one of their best gunners. I think he's looking at the returner. The call comes in a smidgen late right at the last second, and he doesn't see it. And again, a communication error where we got to continue to do a great job. And how can we coach it better? It's not our players, it's us as coaches. So when it's those things, I'm not as concerned because I think we've got great coaches, and I see the attitude and effort of our kids. It's not a great concern for me right now.
Matt, after 2 games, do you anticipate that individual players will step forward to replace David Hennekeem, or is it becoming apparent that it may just be by committee?
Yeah, I think those are 2 great players, and I think I even said this going into the season that, boy, to ask somebody to come in and beat David Montgomery or Akeem Butler, I think is really, really hard. But I think one of the things that I really do like about this group, and you saw a lot of that on Saturday, is you saw guys as the collective whole. You see us being more efficient in a lot of ways, and the games that Tariq Milton had, and you see what Pet's doing now, and it was great to see Charlie get off to a great start right now, and the ball's getting distributed to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. I think that's who we are, and again, a lot of that emphasis goes on the quarterback to have to be the distributor. And then in the run game, I think we're still trying to figure that out. It's great to see Kane starting to get healthier. You've seen him really put on Two good performances when he's been able to stay healthy and in the football game. Johnny's done some great things, and so again, you're talking two guys that are playing the National Football League right now that are really good football players. To say we'll have that guy right away, I think it's hard, but I think eventually are there guys that can have that kind of ability? There are. I think right now it will have to be a collection by committee.
You mentioned him there with Charlie. I think he's had 5 or 6 targets in each game and caught everyone but one, I think, and just the one over the head. What have you liked about how you've used him so far and how that position can continue to expand, especially as Chase, I think, gets more healthy and all that?
Yeah, you know, I think we're fortunate we got really good players there, you know, and you saw 2 weeks ago in a critical moment, you know, where all those players are on the field at the same time. You know, you saw matchups that were created where, you know, Charlie could take advantage of things in the football game, and so I just think you'll see those guys continue to be evolved. Man, the world was coming down when we weren't throwing the football to the tight end, and now, you know, the tight ends have caught more balls in 2 games than, you know, really they caught all last year. So I think you're seeing the evolution of that group just continue to happen, and it will continue to happen because they're really good players that can create matchups for us.
Well, what's the status on Colin Newell?
Yeah, Colin, I would still say is questionable. You know, we'll probably figure that out a little bit more as we get into practice, but certainly a lot better today than he was on Friday and Saturday going into the game. But I would say questionable is probably the right answer and a fair answer right now.
Two-parter. I know last night on the radio show you said Tariq maybe had his best game of his career. So what kind of opened things up for him against Iowa? And then second part is, what's the art of generating a big play? Is it matchups? Is it guys just going out and executing, or maybe what goes into play with that?
Yeah, you know, I think the first thing that I would say about Tariq is, you know, Tariq can separate, and I think one of the things that you really appreciate about Tariq is he's a great route runner on top of that, and I think that's one of the things that, you know, you look at the next level. What do the elite receivers do? They've got the ability to separate at the top of the route, and they've got the ability to separate in terms of cushion and coverage, and Tariq can do all those things, and you saw some of that in maybe its finest form on Saturday night from his standpoint. And, you know, then you piggyback that with the big play aspect of things. A lot of it is matchup driven, you know, creating those matchups for those guys that can create big plays for us. And I think that's, in our history, we've worked really hard to find those matchups and be able to put our guys in great situations to be successful. And then you got to execute it, obviously. And that takes everybody involved, from the offensive line to, you know, the guy that situationally is getting the ball or how they're getting the ball and executing it. So, you know, we put a lot of time and effort into those things because I think that's a big part of any offense, is to be able to generate chunk yardage plays to help you be successful.
Ray Geisler, starting year 1, captain in year 2. How has he been able to adapt to being here so quickly?
Yeah, you know, I think very similar. I've said these comments about Brock. You know, Greg is not trying to be somebody else. Greg Eisworth knows who he is. He's really confident in who he is. And I think the thing that makes Greg really, really special is obviously he is super talented, but he's also got this unique ability to bring others with him. And I think, you know, you talk about what Lawrence has done and the growth that he's made, and you see kind of this, I think, the confidence that those corners are playing with. Well, you know, it was Greg through the offseason that was kind of constantly being the rock and raising those guys up and continuing to push those guys forward. And, you know, I think, yes, we see Greg Eisworth play really good football right now, and you saw him play a great game Saturday night, but I also can step back and watch what he's done for this football team in terms of bringing others with him. And I think that's what really makes him a really special player.
So hard, if you're not watching the tape, to judge an offensive line, but you seem pretty encouraged after the game. What did you see from film from that group and your, you know, anticipation for them going forward?
Well, I thought, in my honest opinion, I thought one of our great challenges was this game, this past weekend, to that offensive line. I think a really good defensive front, maybe one of the best defensive fronts in college football. And if we were going to have success, we were going to have to find a way to win that battle or have a way to compete. And to be honest with you, for the last 3 years, we really haven't. And I thought for the first time since we played in this game, we've been able to go and really compete. And I was really proud of those guys. You know, I thought, you know, across the board, you know, between Good Jones and Meeker, I thought they played their best 2 games, you know, their career so far for us. Now the challenge is, can they continue to play at that level? That'll be the challenge, and continue to get better. And then, you know, to insert you know, Trevor, his first official start, I thought he was really physical, thought he played really good football. I thought the guy that was, you know, would have been the player of the game in terms of success for us would have been Cullen Olson moving to center. I thought he was incredible. You know, what we asked him to do, the pulling, the moving, you know, being singled up inside a little bit throughout the football game. I thought he was tremendous, and obviously Kniffel is the same guy every day. So, you know, I think that group took another huge step forward in terms of confidence, and continues to grow. And is it perfect? No, but it'll never be. That's a position that's never going to be perfect. But, you know, to not give up a sack throughout the football game, to be able to really efficiently run the football and be physical in doing so, I thought that was really big, and big for that group.
This football team has a really good linebacker, Chase Day. He's got 2 interceptions, 3 tackles for losses, that kind of thing. How do you tackle him on offense?
Cool. You know, this is another kind of, like I said, we got challenged last week in terms of the front 7. It's a total different challenge, because this challenge is, you know, speed, quickness, explosiveness across the board in their front 7. And, you know, a part of the success of their linebacking core is the amount of pressure that they bring their linebackers on, you know, and, you know, I think that's one of the things that we're going to have to do a great job, again, in this football game, is knowing not only, so where's our Mike linebacker, but they got great defensive ends, they've got a great nose guard, you know, they fit their system. And it almost reminds me of our defense at times. You know, those front 7 are moving, they're always coming one way or another. And, you know, we're going to have to do a great job trying to control the tempo of the football game, because if you let them dictate the pace of the game, they can be explosive, and they can create a lot of havoc. And, you know, you've seen them do that already in the football season. They've done a great job creating turnovers.
And with that, their run defense, though, has given up quite a few yards. How do you look for your running backs to maybe elevate their game this week?
Yeah, you know, again, I think when you're a team that's going to pressure, and you're going to, sometimes, you know, part of that pressure can be, you know, a guy out of a gap that can maybe create a big run. But I think if you really look at them, they've done a great job against the run and the pass. A couple of plays have come out because of their pressure situations. But, you know, we're going to have to do a great job just game plan in general of trying to find a way to control and dictate the pace of this football game, and put it in control of us. And if we can do that, you know, that'll certainly be to our advantage offensively.
Matt, going back to Tariq, is he a player that you thought had the potential to have kind of a breakout season? And then as a follow-up, can you just describe maybe how you feel about your wide receiver depth at this point? Because obviously 3 guys have really contributed very well these first 5 games.
Well, I'll say this about, let's talk about Tariq first. You know, I think Tariq, 40-some catches last year, had some big plays and some big moments. And, you know, I think he was usually what I've seen from young players in our program. Year 1, they kind of make they're noticed. Year 2, then you see that transformation start to occur. And what was really fun for me is to watch what he did in spring practice, and the relationship Brock and Tariq really started to form through spring practice, and then into the summer, and then what I saw in fall camp. I really did feel like Tariq has an opportunity to have a big-time breakout year this year because of that chemistry between Brock and he. You know, the receiving core, certainly a question mark, and I said, you know, it'd be a question mark through the early part of the season until we see some guys step up. I would tell you I'm probably a lot more confident than I was even 2 weeks ago of where we are at the receiver position. You know, it's been great to see, you know, LaMichael, I thought, has the first 2 games really stepped in and given us great veteran presence and played with great consistency. He's blocked, and, you know, he's competed just like what we expect an outside receiver to do here. Tariq, I thought, really made a jump between game 1 and game 2 for him. And then Deshante has been outstanding, you know, and then you talk about Landon Akers getting in there. He's a guy that we know and trust and can count on. You know, Joe Skates got opportunities a little bit last week and will continue to grow. And so there's still some young guys that are permeating, and it's going to be fun to see some of those other guys come to the table too, because I think there's some guys that have a chance to make a real impact for this team still.
It seemed like your biggest frustration offensively, I think listening last night, was, you know, getting inside like 35 or so, and then just, you know, missing opportunities. Is it something like false starts, or does it just get tougher when it gets tight in that part of the field?
No, I think that's the thing. If you said there's any little, you know, carryover is we've driven the football in the first 2 games with great consistency, maybe more consistently than we have, to be honest with you, since we've been here. Our issue is, a little bit of it, it's the 4th and 3, we had the false start. You're driving down there and Brock the ball gets knocked out of his hands, we fumble the football. It's been those little things those are things that we can control, and we're not controlling what we can control. And so I just think that's for an offense that's still trying to, my opinion, that offense every week's going to only get better and better because there's so many new guys that are getting new roles, and I think that's part of the growth process that you have when you lose a guy like Randy said. You lose David Montgomery and you lose Akeem Butler. You're seeing guys step up, doing some really great things, but it's those details, it's those little things that we got to just continue to shore up and pound away at if we want to be the best version of us we can be. So. Yeah, that would have been my greatest frustration, because I thought overall there was a lot of huge positive between game 1 and game 2 on that side of the ball.
You've talked about the importance of winning the turnover margin. It seems like, at least in the Iowa game, you're really close to getting a couple. Do you feel like you're close to ultimately winning that battle, or just kind of turning the corner?
There's 2 plays, the ball's sitting in our stomach, and we don't make the play, and again, both of those, either of those happen, and maybe it's a different outcome. And so that's football. We got to make the play. That's part of it, and that happened twice the first week, and again, those are things that's the sport, that's the game, those are the inches, and winning those inches are the separating factors between winning and losing in Division I college football. And so, we're close, and we're just going to keep pounding away and work at it. It's something we put a lot of time and effort into, and somebody said, you get lucky in turnover. I just think it's not luck. It's you got to pound away at it. You got to keep driving at it, and those are things where we've been in position to make some of those plays. We just haven't made them so far.
What's kind of, I guess, the calculus or decision-making process you go through when you guys get into 4th down and plus territory, where you're juggling, punting, field goal, or going for it?
Yeah, I think the flow of the game sometimes is probably, at least from my end, constant thought. Nobody likes to go for it probably more than me, but I want to be in a situation to where we feel really comfortable with that, and I think every game is a little bit different. So, I just think it's constantly talked about. My communication is with the offense, when we get down there, that most times, hey, we're sitting in 4-down territory, and then once you get into that 4th down situation, what's it really look like? Are we in one where we feel really confident about it? Are you in one where, 4th and 3, man, you go to 4th and 8, we're really good on defense. Let's play great defense. Let's get the ball back in this field position and keep playing. So again, I think every situation's different, but something that we talk about almost every time we cross the 50.
Which of the 3 roles does Kane do the best, whether it be returning kicks, flipping out of the backfield, catching a pass, or rushing the ball? Because he showed me some stuff going up the gut on Saturday.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether he could do or not.
Yeah, I think the hard part a little bit, Randy, about Kane is, if you go back, and this is what's been tough about Kane, if you go back to Kane Nwangu as a true freshman, and if you can go back to that Oklahoma game, and it's David, and it's Kane, and David gets dinged up, Mike doesn't play in the game, and Kane has to play the second half, and was outstanding. Really rushed the football really well. And the next week, I think, or sooner we go to Kansas and catches the ball out of the backfield, makes a great play, and really ran the ball. And I'll be honest with you, we were like, man, this guy's got a chance to be a really special tailback for us. And then he gets hurt into the winter. We go through that first season, tears his Achilles, and I think that injury had a profound effect on. That's not, especially for a runner, and especially a guy like Kane, that's not like, man, I just can come back in a year from it. And so I really even think up until, he misses the next season, he misses spring, and then finally last year, I felt like till the midway through the season for him to even be back to being Kane that maybe we've seen, and not in terms of the kickoff return piece of it, but the running back piece of it. And so I really think Kane's got a chance to be really special. He's got great strength. you saw it in big games last year, or even where that Texas game is north and south and has big strong runs. And I think he's a guy that's only going to continue to get better. And again, his key is got to stay healthy so he can get those great reps in practice, so he can be the same guy in practice that he is in the games. And if he can do that, I think you only see him get better and better for us. How did Braxton Lewis's presence on Saturday maybe solidify some of the things in that secondary? Well, veteranness. When you have a guy like Braxton, that guy that's played critical snaps in critical moments, I think it allows just everybody else to be settled into their role. And Braxton can do so much. He can play all the safety spots for us. He's certainly a great special teams player. But defensively, I think it just gives us a lot more cushion and flexibility, and allows that rotation to be a lot more fluid in the back end. And that's something that's really important. Obviously, as this season goes and the next 6 weeks come, it's going to be really important for this team to be able to play multiple people.
We got time for one more question.
I know you're focused on football, but I assume Jamie showed you all the stuff that maybe they're playing over there. Between the Sports Performance Center and I guess what they announced today, what are your general thoughts on just what this athletic department's trying to do? Yeah, I would tell you from my end, it's what I really appreciate about our university, about Jamie, President Winterstein, their commitment to the student-athlete experience. It's been second to none since I've been here, to be quite honest with you, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate where we're going as a university, and certainly where we're all trying to go from it as an athletic department. And that's why you feel such an onus on our end as a football program to continue to push the needle forward, because you see the commitment by so many people around us right now. So just grateful, appreciative, and appreciative that we want to continue to work to move forward as a university.
All right, Coach, thank you.
All right, thank you.